Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'll be creating a 12 by 12 layout featuring Stampin' Up's Gathering Moments Suite collection and some other brand new Stampin' Up tools as well. Everything I use will be listed below along with my link to Stampin' Up. If you use the link and live in Canada, I will get a commission. So without further ado, let's get started. Here is what's on my table, basically the leftovers of the Gathering Moments paper pack. I also have two vertical photos. That's me on a hike and a foot selfie with the two friends who were on the hike with me. Now I am showing you the papers I'm selecting. I have a leaf print paper, a wood grain paper. I will be bringing in some other two-tone cardstock as well. I'm just showing you in this paper pack, there are three of the pattern papers that are boldly leaf print, all very beautiful. And honestly, the reason why I selected the one I did today is that I have used the other two already. There was one with a bit of green in it. I probably wouldn't have selected that, but the other one would have went fine. These are really classic autumn colors. You can see I brought in some two-tone cardstock. So in addition to that basic beige, I have Cajun, Craze, crushed curry. I showed you early espresso. I don't end up using that. And I also have some gold foil sheets. In those trays are a bunch of embellishments. I've been playing with this collection for the entire month of October, so I have a bunch of leftovers. And I also showed you a handful of tools, so I will be showing you that later on as well. Now I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing for my foundation page. My idea here is to have a simple border and also to have a jumbo circle that's going to act kind of as a mat for my photo. So I'm just playing around with a few different combinations. And I end up going with the wood grain in the back, and I'm going to have a narrow border in that leaf print, and the jumbo circle, I will cut it out in that basic beige two-tone cardstock. I will be using the darker side of the two-tone cardstock. I'm going to be cutting out that jumbo circle with the Creative Memories custom cutting system, and I'm also showing you I'm bringing in a piece of paper, and it's going to be completely covered up because I have been playing with this Gathering Moments collection quite a bit, and I didn't have a full sheet of that brown wood grain paper, so I'm just going to be piecing together my foundation page. I often use the papers that I don't like or that I will not use. I keep a pile of them handy and I use them for this purpose, just basically for covering up. So off camera, I used that custom cutting system from Creative Memories to cut myself out a jumbo circle, and you can see that I adhered the wood grain and the jumbo circle to that foundation layer that's being completely covered up. And now I'm adhering that 3-inch border on the left-hand side. I will put measurements for all of this on the screen right now, basically. And as you can see, I have two photos, but they do need to be double matted because the backing right now is in basic beige, the same color as that jumbo circle. Now I'm showing you I am using a pattern paper, basically the B side of one of the papers in this collection. The A side is that plaid print off-white that you see to the right. And I am using that because I find it's a better match to that wood grain paper that's in my foundation page than the early espresso two-tone cardstock. And I did have some scraps of that paper, so I thought, what the heck, that's what I'm going to use to mat my photos. Now, before continuing, I'm having a look at all of these jumbo leaves. Now, I had cut these out in several different colors, you can see, from the Gathering Moments die set. And these are absolutely huge. There's a huge maple leaf and a huge oak leaf. Now, some of them I have cut out just as a giant leaf. You can also see the die has a layering piece, and that punches out holes in the leaf. And the actual intention for that is for stitching. I haven't done that yet, but maybe I'll do it one day. And I showed you another one. In a previous video, I took these leaves and I embossed them. So what I'm going to do right now is take the Cajun Craze and crushed curry leaves and create a border with them there. That's why, by the way, that I didn't add ink to that leaf border. Often my paper parts, I ink the edges, but I knew I would be covering them up with leaves. So this is more or less how I plan to move forward with this. I'll probably put a few leaves in the bottom right corner. But before any of that, I want to do some die cutting, and I'm getting out these branching out dies. This is a current product from the September, December mini catalog. And basically they are layering label dies that are all stitched. And you can see I did my journaling already and used one of those label dies to cut it out. But I want to create a layer underneath. So I'm going to be using that very same paper that I used to back my photos with. And I also have this gold foil paper, and I want to cut out some of the smaller bits from this die set. There are some sprigs and some branches and a few other things. And if you look at that Gathering Moments paper pack, the A side all has metallic accents in it. So that's why I want to bring a little hint of metallic accents into my embellishing. So what I'm going to do right now is cut out that matte layer for my journaling. So again, I'm using the same paper, the B side of one of those pattern papers from that Gathering Moments paper pack, and that's going to be my mat for that. And now I'm taking that foil gold sheet and just cutting it up, and I'm going to die cut some of the smaller bits from that branching out die set. I will cut some more of these off camera, and then I will be back and I want to show you all of my embellishments. So in this first little tray, I have a bunch from that branching out die set. So again, I'm showing it to you because there's one of them there. It's like a little tiny acorn. I cut out a bunch of those in that brown two-tone cardstock, and I actually did it for a previous project. And I'm showing you as well for a previous project. I cut out some sprigs. I have those tiny sprigs I just cut out a few moments ago, along with those longer sprigs. In this second tier, I have a bunch of pieces that I cut out from a die set called Circle of Seasons. This is actually a paper pumpkin add-on. It's no longer available, unfortunately, but with every quarter for paper pumpkin, there is a die add-on, and this was for the autumn of 2025. I actually hesitated to buy it, and I ended up using it all the time. So you can see I have acorns there, oak leaves, the word hello. There were a few other things. I'm also showing you I have a bunch of squirrels from this fluffy squirrel bundle, another product from the September, December 2025 catalog. I haven't used any of them yet, and I tried in other layouts. So today I'm absolutely determined. You can see there's a stamp and there's a punch. The squirrels face in two directions, so one of them punches out, the other one I fussy cut. I'm also showing you my title, which is the word fall, and I cut those out with the Party Alphabet dies, which are huge. They measure about 2¼ inches. I'm showing you the back of them. I backed them in these adhesive sheets from Stampin' Up. You can see I basically backed the paper, then ran it through the die cutting machine. And of course, I have a bunch of these giant leaves that I showed you earlier. I did die cut myself another one of those Cajun Craze maple leaves with holes in it because I was missing one if I wanted to add a repetition to the opposite corner. So what I'm going to do right now is place my title and my journaling. So my title is going to go along this leaf border. So everything there is giant alphas and giant leaves. As for the journaling, I plan to kind of nestle it in with my two photos, and all of this is going to be at an angle, and that is definitely outside my comfort zone. I typically have things very straight on a page. What I'm going to do right now is just kind of lift up these letters, toss the photos to the side because I do like the placement of the leaves. So what I'm just going to do is remove one at a time, add adhesive, and tuck it back in. That was why I was removing everything very carefully. So there I go, just adding a bit of adhesive, and a lot of that border of the leaf paper is covered up by these giant leaves, and I'm okay with that because the large part of the page is that jumbo circle with that wood grain paper foundation page, and that's going to be where the photos go. So I don't want there to be a lot of distraction over there. I want the photos to take center stage, but that border is kind of over the top, but it's all towards the left, so I'm good with that. So now what I did was I placed my photos there. I'm placing my journaling, and you can see once again, I placed my title, tucking in 2 of those leaves in the kitty corner. Now I'm not happy with my photo. So you can see I moved them up a bit. I do fuss quite a bit with that. I ended up turning off the camera, or actually just removing that footage, because I fussed, and I think it was because they were all at an angle. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that's outside my comfort zone. I don't know if it looks any different now, but I'm going to go with it how it is right now. So my photos are placed. Now I'm just kind of playing around a bit with the embellishing. You can see I'm building a cluster at the bottom right corner of the journaling box. I have my squirrel there. I definitely want to get a squirrel on this layout. I have some of those little acorns. I'm just kind of playing around a bit with the placement of my journaling. Some of those embellishments overlap the journaling box. I'm happy with that. And then I'm coming in with the smaller bits, the little leaves. Now I have that word hello in gold, and I thought of putting it along the letter F, and I kind of like how that highlights the title. I tried a few acorns up by the letter F as well, but I felt it was distracting to my title. So now you can see I'm tucking a little acorn just kind of in the middle top there. And I like that, although it's a little bit wimpy right now. I do build that up a bit more later on. Now I'm going to adhere my title, and you can see I start with the letter F. I'm peeling off the backing. Now look at the letter A. I have centered it exactly in the middle of the stick of the F, and I'm going to talk about that because I stopped the camera, I continued adhering, but I had trouble with my letter A. Right now I'm going to center it up. Now what I'm going to do is just toss it a bit to the right so that the top of the A, that angle in the top left of the A, basically lines up with the edge of the stick of the F, if that makes sense. So basically it's not centered, it's a little bit more tossed towards the right, and I prefer that. I have no idea if that makes sense, but I did fuss with it a bit, and I preferred it not totally centered. I'm not often putting titles, letters, one on top of the other, and I found it a little bit awkward. As you can see, I have moved along and I've adhered the word hello along the F, and I actually really like that. I had backed that in those adhesive sheets from Stampin' Up as well. Now I've moved down to the bottom there by the journaling box, and I'm going to adhere that cluster, starting with the little squirrel. Then I'm coming in with the acorns. The second acorn, you're going to see I add a few oak leaves behind that, and I pop that one up on foam adhesive. And then what I will do is come in with a few of those gold sprigs. And to adhere that, I'm using that Sticky Specs adhesive. That's from Ecstacy Crafts. Basically, it's a sticky sheet, and I often use it to adhere detailed die cuts. So I basically place the die cut on that yellow sticky paper, and it picks up the adhesive. So I'm happy with that. I do come down later, I should say I do come back later on to that cluster at the bottom and tweak it a little bit. But right now I'm more or less happy with it. So I'm going to work on that cluster on top there. So I tuck a little acorn with a few leaves behind it, just in that top left corner of that photo. Again, I mentioned earlier, I find it just a little bit wimpy, and when I come back to do some finishing touches, I will address that. Now, I knew I wanted something else on the page, and I tried it again up by the letter F. I didn't like that. It took away from my title. So now what you see me doing is trying a few more acorns in that corner. So now I have like a little pile of 3. I kind of like that, and I'm looking for some more of those little oak leaves there, and then I will come in with the sprigs. I do kind of struggle a bit with this, and I think it's sticking out too much. You're going to see in the end I keep that cluster, but I end up tucking them in a little bit further underneath the photo, but it more or less looks like that. Sometimes it's easier when you're adhering, or it's easier for me. Right now, I've got a lot of moving parts. I don't have adhesive on these pieces right yet. So anyway, just kind of playing around with that, looking to find something that pleases my eye. At one point, I take one of the acorns. One of them I had inked up, and the one I had placed towards the front, I used that one. It just added a little bit more contrast. Now what you see me getting out is some twine. So I have two packs here. One of them is the black and white and gold baker's twine. And I also have early espresso and old olive linen thread. And both of these collections are in the September-December 2025 mini catalog. I started with the white and gold one. I found it a little lost, and I decided to add it with the early espresso linen thread as well, and I liked how that looked. So basically, this is it, my finished layout. Off camera, I added two more squirrels on the top left of the journaling block and in the top cluster in the top right of the page. I also tucked in the maple leaf in the bottom right, a little further underneath the photo. I felt that that Cajun Craze leaf was just a bit too big, and it was competing with my border. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. As I mentioned in the intro, everything I used is listed below, along with my link to Stampin' Up. If you live in Canada and use the link, I will get a commission. Please know that I appreciate your support more than words can describe. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.